Hi, I'm Brown. I'm going to be giving monthly collective energy readings. This is the reading for January. There are 5 themes that I'm picking up on for this month, and they all have sort of a common thread between them about understanding our cycles and getting really clear on work-life balance and respecting our own energy as human beings. Collective energy theme number 1 is about flow states. So you are going to be shown in your life right now all of the ways that you are not flowing. And the main way it feels like this is going to show up is you're going to feel like you're grinding more on tasks that you used to be able to do pretty easily, especially tasks that don't feel particularly led by your passion. So let's say you are showing up at work and doing some spreadsheet activity that has nothing to do with anything you're interested in. It is very much a hustle and grind. You're going to feel very de-energized by the grind that you have to do on this task. And the tasks collectively that you have been grinding on in your life up until this point are going to become less and less palatable to you. It basically is going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. It's also going to make you feel just completely devoid of energy. And what's meant to happen with this energy influence is that you're meant to head more towards flow states. So if you think about it right now, is there an activity that you do that really makes you feel like you're flowing? And what does the flowing feel like versus what does the grinding feel like? When we grind, we're energizing from our solar plexus. So we're using a lot of willpower and a lot of forcing, and we are depleting our own body's energy. When we energize from a flow state, we're energizing from the root chakra, which feels natural. We're pulling the energy from the earth and it's more passing through us. And that's why flow states feel like we may be getting information or an energetic flow from something that is from something outside us, because it is. And flow states have the quality of being timeless. So when you're in flow, notice that you tend to lose time. And the analog for that in grinding is that time doesn't move fast enough. You can't possibly, there's no time when you ever lose time. You're like, man, why can't the clock just go faster already? And so right now you're just going to be shown all the ways that you are so done with grinding so that you can head into energy theme number 2. Energy theme number 2 is understanding your cycles. So there are micro cycles. There might be an hourly cycle that you go through, a daily cycle, a weekly cycle, a monthly cycle, a yearly cycle. You're going to be spending time with your cycles and finding what works for you and what doesn't work. A big piece of the collective for the last few years has been us operating in external systems and seeing how those systems really don't work and kind of tearing them apart from the inside. And so this energy influence in January has to do with us coming to terms with the fact that a lot of our systems and bureaucracies really don't work for the human condition. And up until now, we've been willing to swallow that pill and say, well, my human energy, my bodily energy doesn't work well with this system. I have to wake up at a time when I don't like to wake up. I get home this time of year when it's already dark outside and I can't even enjoy the sun. And I was willing to swallow that pill up until now, but guess what? I'm not going to be willing to swallow it for much longer. And all of us are coming to this realization, which has the effect of aligning us with work that is ultimately going to be more respectful to our energy. And you can also notice how we have been already on this trend for quite a while. If you look at the jobs that existed in the 50s and 60s, they're very different than the jobs that exist today. And part of that is the pressure from workers and people who are doing the labor saying, I need more flexibility. I need more freedom in my job title, basically. Some people have gone to work at home so that they can flow better into their day. Some people work 1 hour and then they're off the rest of the day. That need for flexibility is something that people have been asking for more and more for a long time, and we're at sort of a tipping point with that. Also, a part of this theme of understanding our cycles is letting go of the guilt and shame about not being productive. There are weeks of your life, months of your life in which you are not productive. And previously, there was a lot of collective guilt and shame held around this. The idea that if I'm not productive, I'm not a good person. And that influence, that energy is on its way out. And we are going to be holding a much healthier ideal about what human cycles look like and the amount of productivity and how that is not ultimately linked to our value as human beings. And this is a wonderful influence because it is going to lead us more into the area of understanding that pieces of our society, people in our society who do not produce labor and so do not produce capital for capitalism are still valuable parts of society. The third collective energy for January is comparing and contrasting labor and leisure. We are going to continue to see blurring lines between these two things. People spend a lot less time in leisure now than they used to, and there is a real need in the collective for a rebalancing and harmonizing around this. And because of the economic pressure and outer economic forces, people who are working more hours are starting to transition into doing work that they love more. And the sentiment is, well, if I have to work so much, I might as well be doing work that I love. Also, with these blurring lines, work is starting to invade leisure spaces. So if you think about people who work from home, they are working in bed, working in spaces that they normally use to rest. And so during the pandemic, work started to invade leisure space, and leisure space is now going to start to invade work as well. So overall, jobs are becoming more leisurely, and this is a process with a lot of steps. And one of the first steps is us realizing that we won't do work that is unpleasurable anymore, and jobs are transitioning into things that humans should be doing versus things that humans should not be doing. I'm thinking of mechanistic work, assembly line work, things that are very monotonous or bad for our bodies because they're very repetitive. And there have actually been tons of technological advances that have been somewhat suppressed because there's been a very entrenched idea about the need for humans to be doing jobs, and the energy actually feels less about logistics and more about morality. So believing that bodies need to be doing jobs in order to be valuable, and also the entrenched idea that, the economy would collapse if humans stopped doing labor jobs. But that is going to start soften and crumbling over the next 2 years. And so this is a wonderful time to start doing more work that you love, and to understand that you can enjoy your work. The fourth theme is patience. And this is so fun because it feels like you are going to be shown some places where you're not being patient. It feels like a video could come up for you that you really are interested in watching, and you physically cannot sit there and pay attention to it. You're going to be shown that you lack patience. It feels like this influence is meant to slow everybody down. We're actually in a really heavy energy time. The first 2 weeks of January have been very, very slow and sluggish by design. And the slowness and sluggishness is meant to show you that it really doesn't matter how much effort you expend or how much time you spend on something. It is the quality of the time that you spend. And I'm seeing an image of time getting unzipped from reality. And it feels like we are going to be shown more and more over the next several months that time does not play into our results as much as we think it is. And again, playing into work hours and labor, really divorcing time from value. Another part of this patience feels like you will be shown where you are not being present. So all of us have a tendency to pay attention to arrival points and pay attention to when we are going to be getting to something. And it feels like you are going to be focused on your arrival point, and then something's going to jog you out of that. Your dog makes eye contact with you, your kids are there with you, and you suddenly realize that you're not being present with them. And there's something that we're passing by right now that it's very important that we pay attention to. And the image that I'm seeing is when you're passing something in a car, and it might just kind of look like a blur if you drove past it for too long. And so it feels like there's a very important bit of information that we're all supposed to internalize right now, because the energy is so slow and heavy and not a lot of movement. But that's by design. And it feels like there is a quickening around March, and that not only is this a bit of a rest period, but it's a bit of a reset point and a presence point where we get centered and ready for an influence of quickening or more action-based influence that's going to be coming in more towards the spring. And the fifth theme is what I call work smarter, not harder. The tasks that you do this month that you work really hard on, it feels like you are not going to get the result that you wanted. And then something else is going to come along and you're going to go, oh my gosh, that was so random. And it was so fruitful for me. It could be a business connection. It could be just really something that comes out of left field that you didn't really put any time towards or thought towards. It was more like a flow. It was flowing by you. You grabbed it, and that was the opportunity. Now, if you imagine you trying to struggle towards that or grind towards it, that's not going to work during this period of time. And it'll be demonstrated to you over and over again that you need to wait for the right timing for your resources to come to you. And especially because January is quiet and heavy and slow and maybe a bit tired, that you will start to get some anxiety and go, no, I need to make sure that I can get enough resources and be okay and get enough pieces of the pie for myself. And as reality is unzipping a bit from time, you can practice that patience of waiting for what is due to you to come. And a great way to practice that is just to lean on social relationships. I've been hearing a lot about investing in social relationships versus investing our time to companies that don't respect us as human beings. Also, a part of this work smarter, not harder is a call to work on things that are labors of love. Labor has an interesting cornucopia of meanings. Sometimes it means hard work, physical work. In this instance, it means something that I do not for money, but it's some things that I really get a lot out of for my life purpose. So paying attention to what your values are and really aligning with life purpose right now feels important, because there's going to be a lot of shifts and a lot of changes for the entire collective. We're all going towards a more equal and respectful society that is very heart-based. And so it would be really good for you to spend some time centering on your values right now, and understanding that you don't have to do as much as you think you do, that you're being supported through every step of this process. And here is the section that I call, now here's what to do with that. The themes for this month have so much to do with cycles and life balance. So the first thing you want to do is look at your daily routine. How can I make my daily routine more hospitable to myself? That goes for the ways that you can control your life and the ways that you can suggest and request that others accommodate your life. So you may approach your boss and say, hey, can I work from home on Tuesdays? Or may I come into work later because I am not able to wake up at that time and my brain's not working at that time? Things like that. Part of the cycles piece is creating places in your day where you can practice flow states. So if you don't get to access flow states at your work at all, it's very important for you to do activities right now that are going to get you in a flow state. And it feels like every day you should have at least some time set aside to practice flowing into something. It could be flowing into an activity that you love and just doing it because that's the time that feels good for you, not that that's the time that you have scheduled for it. The next thing that you should do is balance your priorities and responsibilities. So it is a re-centering on why you take part in the things in your life, and visualize it as everything in my life works for me. Everything in my life is in my life because it's something that I want to be doing. So my job is in my life because it enriches my life. Maybe it enriches my life with money. And if you take a second look at that, maybe your job is not enriching your life as much as you thought it was, but you were just going along on the status quo. And the same thing goes for other parts of your life. My nutrition serves my life. My exercise routine serves my life. My friendships serve my life. Everything in my life is there because I want it there and because it respects my energy. And anything that does not respect my energy does not have a place in my life. I already hear people saying, well, my kids don't respect my energy, but they have to be a part of my life. And the echo that I get for that is requesting that other people help you if you feel overwhelmed by anything that's in your life. There is always an offer of divine help, and it feels like to ask for it is really important if that's something that you need, especially if it's something that feels like it's weighing on your life, that is overstepping your boundary of what you can handle. Once you have looked at your cycle for the day, look at your cycle for the week. When do I get my groceries? When do I want to get my groceries? When do I want to clean my car out? What feels like a good leisurely activity for me to access once a week, something that would add joy to my life? And then again, monthly, yearly, etc. One of the things that I recognized for myself this year is that I want to decorate a lot for every holiday. I really enjoy decorating for Christmas and I want to come up with my own holidays to decorate for. And I want to go as hard as I go for Christmas for the entire year. So that's an example. The other thing that you should do is to sit back and have patience for the abundance that wants to come to you. And it feels like this is mainly an attitude. So, an attitude that something great is coming to you. And that's always a good plan to have. Another thing that is particularly important this month, but always important to have, is more presence. So, that goes along with the patience. Having presence, patience, and able to wait for the abundance that's coming. This is winter, and I would remind you to allow it to be winter right now. So that is the collective energy reading for this month. If you liked this reading, I do collective readings weekly on TikTok, and I also do individual readings through my website, and I will have another collective monthly reading for you next month.